Hello, Detroit. This is Lions News Fan Report. Straight talk, real context, zero fluff. Subscribe and tap the bell, because today we're connecting dots across multiple windows and two front offices to explain why Josh Palmer to the Lions reads less like a surprise and more like the logical next step of a story that's been building for a while. Here's where we are right now inside the league conversation. Detroit has moved to secure Josh Palmer and the shape of the receiver. Room changes the moment he walks into the building. Stay with me, because you'll get the full timeline of how this went from quiet admiration to green light, what the staff loved on tape, how it shows up on third down and in the red zone, what the numbers look like in practical terms, and how the next few days are mapped. This isn't a splashy headline and a shrug. It's the chaptered path that turns flirtation into a fit. Rewind to the original spark. Late in the 2023 season, during those long self-scout nights, Detroit's offensive staff kept circling the same request in the margins. Add a boundary receiver who can separate on schedule without hijacking the playbook. The note wasn't superstar or nothing. It was clean releases, strong hands, and the courage to work in the teeth of zone. Palmer's name slid into the conversation then, not as a trade mandate, but as a watch him again sticky on the cut-up list. Fast forward to the winter meetings and the combine that followed. Front offices talk all the time, and the Detroit loss. Angeles Chargers line was no different. It wasn't a negotiation. It was the familiar check-in you do when you like a profile and want to know how the other building sees him. The feedback that filtered back was consistent with the tape. Root sound, dependable through contact, smart in scramble rules. File it under if the door opens, be ready. Training camp the next summer kept the thread alive. Detroit scouts updated the book. Palmer had grown into a steady chain mover who could also stack vertically when you forced a safety to widen. The fit was obvious on paper, a Z who thrives in motion, from stack and bunch, who blocks. Enough in the run game to keep you truthful, and who doesn't need 5 targets in a row to impact the drive. Again, not a demand, a readiness plan. Then came a trade deadline season where phones around the league got busy. What matters here isn't a leaked offer, it's the pattern. Detroit asked the questions you ask when you're serious about a profile, and the Chargers did what smart teams do with a useful piece. They listened, they weighed timing, they kept playing ball. Nothing broke then, but people on both sides learned something useful. The football fit was real, the market cost would be rational, and the relationship lines were open. Roll into the following offseason, and you can feel how these things harden. From maybe one day into, if we push, we can cross this now. Detroit groomed its receiver room around roles, not posters. The offense already had its volume magnet and its speed stressor. What it wanted was the quiet technician who punishes off coverage on 3rd and 5, wins on the glance in the high red, and keeps your 2-minute drill on schedule without forcing the quarterback to hold the ball. That description has basically been Palmer's business card the last couple of years. On tape, the love points haven't changed. Release toolbox that handles press without drama. Mid-air balance through contact. Eyes that find the quarterback. In scramble, so the throw becomes high percentage instead of a hope. And a detail that Detroit's staff values more than most. He plays every route with the same body language, which means corners can't cheap read the concept from the A stem. If you've ever wondered why some quarterbacks trust certain receivers on 3rd down more than others, that's a big reason. Sameness until it's time to be different. Let's move from romance to field reality, 3 TV simple frames that you'll recognize the first Sunday he's up. Frame 1, 3rd and 5, plus territory. Detroit motions to a stack to force off coverage. Palmer sits at the point. He gives a speed release, sells outside for 2 steps, snaps back to the stick at 6 yards. Ball's out on time, chains move. The drive stays alive. Frame 2, play action, shot from a condensed split. The backer's step, The safety widens half a yard toward a crosser, and Palmer climbs on the deep over at 18 yards, flattening late to stay away from the post safety. It's an explosive without asking your quarterback to hold the ball forever. Frame 3. High red zone, 12 yards from pay dirt. Option route. If the corner is heavy inside, he stems, leans, and takes the back shoulder fade to the pylon. If the corner bails, he throttles at the front pylon and gives the quarterback the glance window. Either way, you're not praying for a perfect throw through 3 bodies. You're dictating with leverage. There's a run game layer too because this staff refuses to carry receivers who won't block. Palmer is a willing shoulder in split flow and a reliable stalk and steer guy on perimeter runs and bubbles. He doesn't have to bury safeties, he just has to be on time and sticky. Detroit's run game is built to do the rest. That matters when you're calling plays in the fourth quarter of a one-score game and want the same personnel to sell both the toss and the glance. Now the numbers not in fantasy land, in cap land. This is a function move, not a firework. The cost to acquire sits in that rational band where mid-round capital and year-to-year flexibility live. The contract picture is manageable without squeezing other priorities on the board. The incentives row is where you put the adult stuff, playtime triggers, production bumps, post-season sweeteners. The purpose is to buy reliability and leverage, not headlines. Risks? Of course. Receivers who do the dirty work live in traffic. You take hits in the middle and you need weeks where you don't feel your best and still separate on time. There are always soft tissue windows in a long season, and learning a new verbiage can make a player a beat slow before he becomes a beat early. Detroit's mitigation plan reads like it should. Front-load the learning into formation families. He already speaks. Give him the third down menu first because that's why he's here, then layer in the 2-minute and the play-action shots once the daily language stops feeling foreign. Chemistry is the other, quieter piece, and it's where this addition pays back hard. QB1 gets a receiver who is where the picture says he'll be, on the step the picture says he'll be there. That's trust you can call on. The slot star keeps the attention he deserves while the boundary repels cheap help. The speed threat still scares safeties because Palmer can punish the rotation with the deep over. And your tight ends quietly. Get better matchups because boundary corners can't auto-check inside, help without getting punished outside. Timeline from here? Professional and tight. Travel, medicals, pen, photos, install. Week 1 is verbiage and formations. Learn where to line up, how Detroit names what he already runs, and which motions unlock the leverage he likes. Week 2 is the third down packet and the scramble rules. The secret sauce of this passing game is that the off-schedule play is practiced on schedule. Palmer slides right into that. Week 3 is 2-minute and red zone sequencing, the little if-thens that turn field. Goals into touchdowns when the windows get short. Somewhere in that run, you'll hear the microphone. Expect plain talk about role, not promises no one can keep in a league that eats plans for breakfast. You'll notice the ripple effects around the roster without needing a depth chart in your hand. A young wideout's snap count lands in a healthier place for his body. A veteran doesn't have to turn every third down into a contested catch between 2 helmets. The backs catch easier checkdowns because the hook defender had to widen. A step to honor the over. And the play caller, whoever's holding the sheet, finds himself with those calm answers that keep second quarters sane and fourth quarters quiet. Why did Detroit and the Chargers keep circling each other on this? Because both sides can. Do math. The Chargers knew they had a useful professional who fits a lot of offenses. Detroit knew it had a very specific job opening that Palmer fills without changing what the room already is. The flirtations over the last couple of cycles, the check-ins at league events, the deadline temperature reads, the off-season how do you see him chats, weren't noise, they were proof that the fit kept surviving time. When fits survive time, they usually cross the finish line. Drop your take below. Does adding a route winner like Palmer change your confidence on third down against the top defenses on the schedule, or would you have spent the capital on another room? Do you want him locked to the Z with motion, or rotating into the slot on third down to bully nickels who don't love contact? Your read shapes what we break down on film next, and as soon as the first snaps hit, we'll have the telestrator out. And as always, only at the very end, the disclosure that honors this community. This episode lives inside our rumors and speculation window. We connect internal signals, football logic, and a long memory of how these front offices have talked to show you why the move makes sense and how it would actually look if finalized. My personal read is simple. Palmer is the adult receiver who gives your quarterback a thermostat on third down and your coordinator a calm button in the red zone, the kind of fit that doesn't scream on Monday morning but shows up every Sunday night on the scoreboard.